heard tales of your kind, Witcher. You're a mutant, created by magic, roaming the continent.
We don't want your kind here.
Hunting monsters for a price. I thought you'd have fangs or horns or something.
I had them filed down.
Game of Thrones season... Oh, wait, no. The Witcher season 1 review.
Yeah.
No episodes. We were going to go episode by episode, but we were like, let's not milk this too much.
You can't with Netflix.
No, you can't.
Really? If it was week to week, maybe, but...
We were thinking maybe premiere and then finale, but yeah, you can't because of the drop. The drop kind of kills all that momentum.
It is weird, though, that I feel like the show kind of came and went. Like, by the time this comes out, people are like, oh, yeah, I remember The Witcher.
Right, yeah, we didn't get
2019.
Yeah. I mean, with the first season of Game of Thrones, you get those 10 weeks. With this, it's just, like we said, it's the drop, but...
Well, even Mando, it owns Twitter and everything for 2 months straight.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's the benefit. But It is what it is. We got the 8-hour movie because each episode in this first season was a hard hour, which I prefer.
And you know what? I think the All at Once might have helped the series for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah,
because
definitely.
The first episode, it has a few problems, and it takes a while for you to kind of get invested. Maybe some people watch the first episode, maybe they feel it's not for them, and never come back. But now episode 2 is ready for you. You start it again, and then you kind of get used to it. And you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good, and I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, because their approach to storytelling with the multiple timelines could confuse people. But like you said, you go right into episode 2, and you might get those answers sooner than a week, rather than waiting for next week's episode. But yeah, I texted you. I told you, I was like, yeah, I'm not sure that I'm a fan of this Witcher show. It's all over the place. The acting's not great. I'm not a fan of the writing. He's like, what episode are you on? First 20 minutes. But once I got past those first 20 minutes, I really enjoyed this show. I really did. And obviously, it's going to be compared to Game of Thrones because it's fantasy. That's how it is. And doesn't stack up to me to the first season of Game of Thrones, but I think this show has a lot of potential moving forward. This was a great foundation.
Yeah, I had some problems with it, but at the end of the day, I watched the whole series, pretty much binged it for 8 hours, so that says a lot if you're going to have me invest and sit there for that long. And I was very encapsulated with the world. I liked the characters, and, some things I didn't quite understand, but overall, I thought it was an entertaining series.
Yeah, I think I did have an advantage having played The Witcher 3. That's the only knowledge and exposure that I've had to this universe. Haven't read the books, haven't played the other games. But they do jump timelines in The Witcher 3, so I think I was able to catch it a bit quicker than other people. But they don't give you any heads up. They don't talk down to the audience at all. This is what it is. We're time jumping, and you have to figure it out.
Well, I think, like Dunkirk, for example, I thought that was done much more seamlessly.
Yes.
I mean, that's Christopher Nolan, that's expected. But one of my main criticisms of the season was the world building. I felt like they could have done more to build the world, and obviously I never played the video games or read the books, but that's kind of like a decision the creators have to make. Do we cater to people who have no experience with The Witcher, or are we catering to the fans of the series that are going to understand most of the world?
Yeah, and I think they catered more towards the fans.
Yeah.
And
which is, I guess, a good thing, but you kind of want the new people getting introduced to this world to feel like they're not missing out on something because they didn't experience any of the other medians.
Yeah, and the world building for fantasy, it's tough. I think that's the biggest appeal to me for Game of Thrones is always going to be the characters. And the world is huge, and it's very detailed, and the names are great, but it's the characters that bring the world to life, because if your characters are dull, then it's just going to look like rich people playing dress-up.
Yeah.
And for the world building, I thought it was fine. I hate the map. I hate the map of the Witcher world. I felt like it could have used a bit more grit, a bit more spit shine. Like I needed somebody to spit on this with a shoe rag and rub it down.
Yeah.
Because the production value was great, but I thought it looked a bit too clean.
And there were a couple times the CGI didn't look great, but it's, I'm
TV CGI, I'm so forgiving. I thought the dragons looked great.
I mean, I'm used to fucking Drogon, but obviously it's not going to be to that quality yet.
Right.
But, yeah, I think it comes down to the characters, and I think the main characters, the three mains, and I think the three mains I really enjoyed, and the supporting not so much. Obviously, Game of Thrones, again, we're going to compare it. The supporting characters were very strong. In The Witcher, I didn't really feel that was the same.
Game of Thrones, I always say, like, your 44th most popular character became an icon. You know?
Yeah.
Characters that only had a couple of episodes. It's that effect. It's similar to Star Wars. The reason why Boba Fett is such a fan favorite, because all the characters in that world really bring it to life. The three leads are fantastic. And we'll start with Henry Cavill as Geralt. It was a bit of a controversial casting at first. People thought maybe he was too young. A lot of people don't think he's a great actor. He's not. But I'll tell you what he's great at. He's great at being a movie star. He's great at being a presence on screen. And that's what Geralt is. It's a very physical performance. And Cavill is great when he can let loose physically and emotionally, because I thought some of the scenes where he has to really act, I thought he held his own. The guy's a movie star, man. Look at him.
Yeah, I think he can act. I think some performances I've seen, he's done a very good job.
I don't think he's bad, yeah.
But his screen presence, he's Henry Cavill. So he's just, like you said, he's a movie star. He's an
there
action
hulking
star.
around.
He's on Netflix now, and I think he did a great job as this character.
Yeah, and I think in hindsight, that first episode really establishes what he's going to go through. That choice, the grappling with destiny. Is destiny something that's set for you, or is it based on your past decisions? And Renfrey was a character played by Emma Appleton, who I thought was one of the stronger supporting characters. But for the story, she did have to die. But it's just, I guess, coincidence that they casted one of their better actors for a role where they were going to dispose of her after an episode. Unfortunate, but the first episode really establishes who this man is and what he's gone through and what he's going to go through moving forward.
And we're introduced to various aspects of the world, I guess, with the mages, and destiny is something that's brought up multiple times throughout the season. It's the middle timeline. I guess the present timeline is Ciri, right? And then this one is...
Well, for Geralt, it's in the past.
Yeah.
It's when Queen Calanthe is young.
Yes.
And the Ciri timeline, I guess, is, you would say that's the current timeline.
Yeah.
Sintra is being invaded by Nilfgaard.
I think it's a few years before Ciri is born, this one, because they meet him before Ciri is born, and then Yennefer starts 30 years before this Geralt storyline. And I think that's where a lot of the... Once you figured it out, it was kind of like, okay, now we're getting going.
Yeah, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't as seamless when all the stories did come together in the end. But this fight scene was incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal, too.
My guy, Vladimir Furtick, the Night King, fight choreographer.
Yeah?
For this show, yeah.
Wow.
I think it's the best combination of brutality in fighting and also stylized choreography. Because that first move, man, when he chops that dude's head in half with that thrust.
For this series, I don't think I'm out to look for like realistic fight choreography and he's a fucking Witcher. He's a magical being.
He's enhanced.
After this scene, when I watch him, like, that was pretty cool.
And one thing that I loved in this fight scene is when he uses his sign to push back a couple of the soldiers.
Force, right?
Yeah. And the magic, I thought the way that they treated magic like a science, that there is something to learn, that there are different concoctions in nature, that you can make different spells, and he has the little potions, that's from the games and books as well. I thought the magic was handled really well. I wish they would have dived more into that, and I think, for me, Yennefer was the best character out of the three, best character in the show. Her time at Aretusa, I thought that could have been a whole season.
Yeah, it kind of wrapped that up in two episodes, 3 episodes?
Yeah.
Episode 2 is mostly her episode. And yeah, that was awesome, like seeing the training and everything, and like seeing like the brotherhood of like sorcerers and all that. It was kind of like their own world, disattached from the main world. And kind of how the mages, they're basically influencers of kings.
Right. It reminded me of the Citadel. It reminded me of the Maesters, that they do have a political role to play in this society.
You know, we see like how Fringilla and basically influenced Nilfgaard. And we see throughout how when they were first received by Queen Calanthe, they were getting made fun of, like Nilfgaard, this, like they kind of were brushed aside. And then obviously in the present storyline, they're taking over.
Yeah, and her relationship, Yennefer's relationship with almost the head mistress of Aretusa, Tissaia, who was played by Mayanna Buring. Another great performance, I thought. Their relationship, their dynamic, the mother-daughter, the complexity of that. In the end of the season, she comes to regard Tissaia as her savior. Obviously, from where they started, especially with Yennefer, I mean, the deformity, the physical deformity, what she is able to overcome, the fact that Tissaia saw that potential in her, but it wasn't as simple as, she wasn't like her Obi-Wan, you know? She was like Dolores Umbridge, but deep down you could tell that she was almost kind of corrupted by this world that she is trying to serve.
Well, yeah, their whole relationship, I mean, calling her Piggy in the beginning and then having her go through that transformation and kind of have her own path only to come back, and there's some resentment there between Yennefer and Tissaia. They come together in the end, obviously, and it's a nice moment because that is a complicated relationship. And I think that could have been played out throughout a whole season, like you said before. She doesn't have this transformation and come into her own until like the finale, where we have episodes and episodes of her that they set that they wanted to do. You kind of had to speed it up maybe, but I think there were ways to go around that.
Yeah, I think so, because there's some things that Yennefer does. I mean, her relationship with Geralt I thought was great. You know, obviously they have so many similarities with what they've gone through, but with Geralt, he kind of started in a place of comfort and was taken from that. With Yennefer, she was brought up, her family didn't consider her family. She was obviously had that deformity. So even though her path wasn't chosen for her, she thinks that maybe this is what she would have chosen anyway, just to escape her reality.
Well, and you see that decision burdens her and leads her to make decisions to undo that.
Yeah.
Or the aspect of her fertility, I guess, and to have a child.
Yeah, she sacrifices that ability, and then she wants it back.
Yeah.
Because she changes her looks, and that's the Yennefer that I recognized from The Witcher 3. I thought that could have been like an episode 6 reveal. Don't make Yennefer hot until episode 6. I'd wait till season 2.
Yeah.
And there's a moment, I think, in episode 2 when Tissaia tells Yennefer that she's dominated by her emotions, and those emotions can become chaos, and she's very chaotic throughout this season 1. But she does have some great moments. I mean, her magical abilities are awesome. When she makes that stand against Nilfgaard at the end, and when she's protecting that queen from the assassin, I thought that was well done too.
Yeah.
The assassin with that little critter.
Yeah, it's they can track through light speed, huh?
Right. And it's very Game of Thrones in that, you know, a king setting out a hit on his wife, betrayal, but in this universe, it's more high fantasy.
Yes,
and the high fantasy, to me, never got so ridiculous. Like the monster fights. I thought the fight against the Striga was really cool.
Yeah. And that was actually a great sequence, too, because you're flashing back and forth between that and Yennefer.
Right, that's
And-
when she loses her ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all the monster fights are awesome. I mean, every time... I have a question, though. Like, why does sometimes his eyes go black and sometimes they don't?
I have no idea.
Okay.
That is not a question for me. I know that in the game, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to fight the monsters, but I don't know why anything's happening.
Okay.
We're probably going to have to, in the off-season, read the books.
Yeah.
Maybe play some of the games. But one aspect that I did recognize was the detective aspect of Geralt, that he is a tracker. And I like that that's how they use the magic, that's the science that he's tracking. That he can smell what that man was doing in that girl's bed, or that he can recognize certain monsters. And his knowledge, you could tell that being a Witcher was years in the making.
Yeah.
So he kind of goes, it's Superman kind of going Batman here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I like that. I really did.
Yeah, and I like how sometimes he didn't always win. He got caught by the elves.
That was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
When they get kidnapped by the elves.
Did you like his sidekick?
Jaskier?
Yeah.
Hated Jaskier.
Really?
No, yeah. At one point, when he gives him that whole go away, I don't like you anymore, and then you're kind of supposed to feel bad for Jaskier, I was like, no, fuck him. Yeah.
In the beginning, I'm like, he's going to be the annoying side character, but I grew, like The Witcher himself, I grew to care for him.
See, that's the
See how
thing.
when he got upset when the last thing he told him was he's a bad singer? he was upset.
That was like the Lighthouse when he said he didn't like his cooking.
Yeah.
When he told Willem Dafoe.
How's my singing?
It's like ordering a pie and finding it has no filling.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
Drunken in a Virginia fence.
I seen it. You're fond of me lobster.
I don't mind the idea. I mean, we've seen that before, the wacky sidekick that never shuts up. I thought it was just a miscast. Like, the actor himself doesn't look right next to Henry Cavill. They don't have physical chemistry.
Yeah, but
if you're going to get a big hulking man, then you need the short sidekick.
Guy dropped a Billboard Hot 100 hit.
Toss a coin to your witcher, O Valley of Plenty.
Listen, he's a great musician. I just don't think he's a good actor. I mean, he's doing the Lord's work out there, promoting The Witcher.
Yo, that's
smart.
the ad agency right there.
Right, seriously. You better be paying him everything he wants.
He took this man from the Butcher of Blaviken to fucking
The
White Wolf.
That's like Kerry Washington in Scandal.
I don't watch Scandal.
She deals with like politicians in crisis
Okay.
to rework their images.
And our third main lead, I would say, Ciri. Her
Yes.
story and her connection to Geralt is one that pretty much is the driving force behind the whole season.
Played by Freya Allen. I think the jury's still out on Ciri. I think her storyline out of the main three was...
Yeah, there wasn't much there. It was kind of a...
No. It was
But,
a bit repetitive.
yeah, but I think
Child on the run. You know that eventually she's going to unite with Geralt.
a lot of like the backstory for that and the meaning comes from Geralt's storyline from years prior.
Right, yeah.
Um,
Him meeting Queen Calantha, being there when Pavetta was married.
yes.
When Pavetta's husband came through, her fiance. What was he? He was cursed as a hedgehog, right?
Yeah, I guess that's what it was.
That entire sequence was fucking wild. That's when Pavetta revealed her power that she eventually passed on to Ciri.
Yeah.
And that's the intrigue with Ciri too, because that's the third game is she's being hunted by something called the Wild Hunt, and they're trying to steal her power. So, I mean, that scene when she fends off the attackers, I think in episode 7, when she goes full exorcist, that was awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the, could be seen as like the last hope for Sintra. She's the princess, the last of, I guess, the line and all that kind of stuff, and that can make for an interesting storyline going forward. But another thing that confused me, the law of surprise. What? I don't get that at all.
Yeah, that looks like something, it's just a trump card, right?
I guess.
When you need something, it's like, remember when I called
Surprise.
Law of Surprise? Right, that's what it is.
Marrying your daughter.
Well, Geralt kind of did it jokingly.
Yeah, but then why does Ciri have to be his then? Like, he didn't, like, surprise claim that.
I know, yeah. We're gonna have
It's
to
a weird
look into
name,
that.
too.
The Law of Surprise?
Yeah.
It's a fitting name, though.
Yeah, it is. It's very surprising.
Did you like Queen Calantha?
Yeah, I like the character, like seeing her in the battlefield and stuff like that, and she was very sarcastic in a lot of ways and very strong, but I think sometimes throughout the season I was kind of upset because she kept trying to, like, and I know that's her granddaughter, but she kept being annoying for Geralt.
Yeah, and at the very end when
she was like trying to, like, she wouldn't let her daughter marry the Hedgehog Man. Let them get married. She likes the Hedgehog Man.
See, I thought a lot of these supporting characters had potential, even like Mousak. I thought he was an interesting character, his relationship going back with Geralt.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, Yennefer's boyfriend that she meets at Aretusa, where they're told to spy on each other, I thought that was an interesting relationship. But the actors here, the actors and actresses, to me, they didn't stand out. So a lot of these characters that I thought could have made a great impression didn't. Where I can appreciate their role in the larger story, especially a character like Instead. I didn't feel anything for them. I mean, I appreciated that he was able to look past her deformity and see her for who she truly was, a psychopath obsessed with power. He's like, I love this. But the actors, to me, they weren't great.
Yeah.
It was missing a vibrancy, a liveliness to them.
Well, I was surprised. I was telling you, I was surprised, especially with the casting of Henry Cavill, that there weren't a lot of other bigger names that came in as supporting characters.
Yeah, where like my Ian? Just pick off from Game of Thrones. Those guys are all out of work.
Well, Queen Calanthe was from Game of Thrones.
Who was she? Oh, she was Maggie the Frog, right? Yeah.
And I'm not saying every show needs to have...
She was very Maggie the Frogish in this, actually.
I'm not saying every show, like, I enjoy having unknowns come in, but some of the unknowns didn't really stand out.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, your unknowns look at Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
They took unknowns, made them superstars. But if you have to do your homework there.
But I was just surprised. Like, I'm not saying you need to have big names, but I was surprised there wasn't.
Well,
any,
it's like, what's
like,
a big
that's
name?
not like
finger snap guys.
Yeah, like
who's
oh,
that with the
yeah,
those type of names.
Yeah,
that's what you needed. B-list English actors who are for us, they're like A-list guys. You know,
yeah.
Like Ian McShane as Mousak, I thought would have been a better choice. Get Ian McShane in there because he's one of the best living actors. I don't know. I think in season 2, I think they should have no reservations about picking off Game of Thrones actors. Seriously, why not?
They probably kind of want to be like, we're already going to get the comparisons.
Fuck that. Good. I love this too. We're like, oh, we're going to avoid being compared to the greatest show ever. It's like, no, embrace that shit.
Well, like I was saying before, how you mentioned how the mages are kind of like maesters and how they influence these kings and these leaders of certain kingdoms. And I think that was one of my favorite parts of the series.
Yes, I think so too. And I'm excited for season 2 that the showrunner had said that they're going to get more into why they're viewed as the villains, the complexities within that empire, because it seems that kings are just constantly being overthrown throughout the course of these 30 years. And the current ruler is a character named Cahir, who was played by Eamon Farron. And I was trying to remember who this guy was. He was in Twin Peaks. He was Horn's kid.
Okay.
Yeah, he was Evil Cooper's kid. He's a good actor. I mean, he's got a great evil face. So I'm interested to get more into that. But I thought, like, one of the best actors in the show, Lars Mikkelsen, played Stregobor. I needed more Stregobor.
Yeah.
You got Lars Mikkelsen. He was great in the first episode. He had some funny lines in episode 7 when he mentions about Yennefer. If Yennefer had went to Nilfgaard, they'd still be a backwater kingdom.
Yeah.
Yennefer's like, hold on, that wasn't my point. But the politics were interesting. There's definitely room for them to explore the politics further because right now it just feels like Southern Kingdom invading Northern Kingdoms. Why? I don't really know. Obviously, he's after Ciri's power.
Yeah.
So they'll probably get more into that.
But yeah, like when we see like how Yennefer was supposed to go to Nilfgaard and she kind of went through that transformation, seduced the King of Aden, and that's where she was from and got to go there. That small decision kind of changed
Changed history. Yeah.
But like another thing, like I was saying about the world building, like Aden, Temeria, whatever, like Nilfgaard, Sintra, I feel like a lot of them are just names, and
Yes.
I don't really recognize them as places. All right, like Winterfell, or let's change it up, or like Tatooine or something.
Right, yeah, no. You don't associate any geography with them.
Yeah.
You know, climate, culture. That's what's missing.
Yeah.
And it's fine because this is the show. It's called The Witcher. So it is going to be about one man, even though it is an epic, even though the world is huge. So you can get into that in the later seasons. And they say that it's going to be a more linear storyline.
Well, but like Aretuza is the only place where like, all right, I know what this place is. I kind of get.
Aretuza, I thought, was the best looking place out
Yeah.
of all of them, too.
But
Right, like I said, I hate the map.
like even like the, what is it, Broccolon Forest?
Yeah, what the fuck was going on there?
That's just that in name. Like, I don't know what those people were or what they were doing
Ciri
or
and that? Yeah,
with
yeah.
the water. It's like they just said it, and I'm like, okay. A lot of things are like, it was just said, and I'm like, okay.
Well, also the history with the elves, that the
Yeah.
elves were the first ones on the continent to use magic, and then humans, they taught humans how to use that magic, and then humans wiped them out. And then we had the Elven King full of Andril. That storyline to me felt like it wasn't even real. They were like, these elves are living in the woods. We were wiped out. Now we're in the mountains. And Geralt's like, just take it back. Or just form a new country. It's like, oh, okay. And then they just moved on from that. I think that's obviously going to come into play with Yennefer being a quarter elf. And they say that was what was responsible for her deformity. And that's what I was saying before about the foundation that they've built, that there's so many things moving forward that I'm excited to see what they do with them.
Yeah, and everything kind of comes together at Sodden Hill where the big battle takes place at the end. Oh, that was an interesting battle. It's very different with all the magical elements to it.
Yeah, and they're trying to just hold off until the northern kingdoms can.
So I thought that was, especially when Yennefer does that big fireball thingy.
Yeah.
She was going off.
That was awesome. And that goes back to the politics that the Brotherhood of Sorcerers didn't want to support Sintra. They didn't want to support the northern kingdoms. They were ready for Nilfgaard to take control.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess 20 or so mages rebelled.
Yeah, so that was an interesting dynamic there. And obviously Ciri and Geralt finally come together.
Yeah, they do come together.
And that was interesting, too, when he was attacked by the zombie or whatever they were.
Yeah, those undead
Yeah.
people. I guess zombies, yeah.
And the flashbacks and his mother. I guess she was a mage, right?
Right, yeah. And
And-
it looks like she gave him away.
Yeah.
Yorn from Game of Thrones, saying that these bodies are going to leave a feast for crows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Ciri comes up and she mentions Yennefer. Ciri and Yennefer don't meet, but I'm pretty sure they do have a strong relationship in the books, more so than in the games. And everything between Geralt and Yennefer, I thought that was very complex, seeing how they were so obsessed with their personal lives and the things that they wanted to acquire, power or the ability to sleep, in Geralt's case.
Well, we got to find out what his wish was for the djinn.
Right, yeah. The Jinn episode was fantastic.
Yeah. At first, I'm like, a fucking genie?
Right, but the way that they handled it,
Yeah.
was, obviously he's not Robin Williams dancing around.
Yeah. But, yeah, that was interesting, too, because...
He makes the decision to save her life. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah, but...
He must have saw
I
something.
think it's implied that his wish kind of bonded them.
Right.
So it's interesting to see how that dynamic plays out through the rest of the seasons.
Yeah, it's ambiguous. We don't know what he wished for. So I guess she can't really trust it. Her introduction to Geralt was hilarious when she's having that giant orgy. She's really out of control. Somebody needs to take her card back. And I think for us, too, it's a matter of kind of researching the lore more.
Yeah.
So we can understand what's going on with Ciri. Maybe we should read the books, get ahead of it.
Well, that's what I did with Thrones. I watched the first couple seasons, and I'm like, it did give me a different perspective on. I think I enjoyed the show more after reading the books, even though I knew what was going to happen for the most part, because obviously there were changes. But just knowing the world and kind of getting a deeper understanding of everything made my enjoyment of the rest of the series that much more better.
What would you give this season out of 10? If you have to weight it as an introductory season.
Give it a solid 7. I mean, there were a lot of problems with the timeline, some of the acting, dialogue, just overall world building that I didn't really love, but at the end of the day, it was just entertaining, and I liked some of the characters. It did get me interested in learning more about the world and kind of anticipating a season 2. So at the end of the day, that's really, really all you can really look for out of a show.
Yes.
If it's not going to blow you out of the water, then just be entertaining and have me invested.
Yeah, I would go 7.5.
Yeah.
Because the 3 main storylines were so intriguing and so well done that everything that they kind of left on the table for next season or things that they kind of rushed through, I can forgive them because I was having such a good time watching it.
And it knows what it is.
Right.
It's not trying to be anything else. It's like, all right, this is a world with genies, with these monsters, with superpowered kind of knights, pretty much. So
It never approaches cringe for me though. The dialogue was never cheesy. At times there was more to be desired with the dialogue, but it never got to a point where I thought this is one of those poorly written, uninspired medieval fantasy copies of Lord of the Rings. It felt like its own thing.
Yeah.
And if you could be authentic within this genre, needed more scenes of Henry Cavill in a bathtub.
Yeah, he should definitely be having more sex. He had a lot of sex, but
Yeah, probably more. Yeah, he needs to bang more in season 2.
season 2, I need double.
They went straight up porn in some of these scenes.
Toss that ass to your Witcher, ladies.
Throw that ass to your Witcher. All right, guys, that does it for us. Thank you for watching this video, and let us know your thoughts about The Witcher in the comment section below. And before we sign off, we would like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is currently giving away 2 free months of their premium membership to help you explore your creativity by simply clicking the link in the description box below. And after that, it's only around $10 a month. If you've watched our videos before, you'll know that Skillshare has been a frequent sponsor of ours. It's a product that we enjoy talking about because it can actually help aspiring content creators learn the necessary tools to start their careers. One class we'd like to highlight today is how to make a podcast, plan, record, and launch with success. People are always asking us how to start their own podcast, and look no further than John Lagomasino's expert class on creating podcasts. John takes the time to break down every single aspect of creating a successful podcast, from purchasing the right equipment and then teaching you how to use that equipment. John's class is also helpful in molding your specific style and voice. You may know what you're trying to do, but you just don't know how to do it, and that's why Skillshare is so valuable. They teach you how to use the necessary tools to bring your art to life. And right now, you can click the link in the description box below to receive 2 free months of Skillshare's premium membership. And after that, it's only around $10 a month. Make 2020 a year where you explore new skills, further your passions, and get lost in creativity with Skillshare's online classes.